to the deep dive. We've got your sources, and we're here to dig into what really matters. Today, we're looking at the latest Beyond the Code newsletter from Prateek.
Yeah, good stuff in this one.
Our mission, basically, is to figure out what all this rapid AI growth actually means, for tech and even just for getting things done day to day.
Absolutely. And Prateek flags for really key areas in this newsletter. We should probably break those down.
Okay.
We've got AI models apparently passing the Turing test now.
Yeah.
Then there's Microsoft's new Azure MCP server.
Right.
The whole spectrum of AI agents and this idea of autonomous software. And finally, something maybe a bit unexpected, how important our own focus is becoming.
Okay, yeah, that last one sounds interesting. Let's start with the Turing test, though. That sounds like sci-fi becoming real.
It really does feel that way. So this Stanford Google research Prateek mentions.
Yeah.
It found that some large language models, LLMs, they can actually fool humans in blind conversations now.
Fool them. Like, people don't know they're talking to an AI.
Exactly. That's the core of the Turing test, isn't it? Can it pass for human? And apparently, in these controlled settings, the answer is increasingly yes.
Okay, that makes you pause.
It really does. And the research points out how they're doing it. It's not just mimicking. They're showing advanced turn-taking, like in a real conversation. Even like humor and empathy.
Empathy from an AI.
That's what the paper suggests.
Yeah.
It's showing empathetic responses that humans find convincing.
Right.
So yeah, the lines are getting very blurry.
Seriously blurry. So what does that actually mean if we can't easily tell the difference? The newsletter talks about implications, right?
Huge implications. The big one Prateek highlights is for user experience UX design.
Okay.
We absolutely need transparency, clear markers. Users have to know if they're interacting with a human or an AI.
So like little labels in the chat window, or maybe the voice sounds a certain way.
Precisely. Both visual cues, voice interaction cues, it needs to be upfront. No ambiguity. It's about building trust, fundamentally.
It's not just about avoiding creepiness. It's about being honest.
Exactly. And managing expectations.
Yeah.
But think about the potential upsides, too, if done right.
Like what?
The newsletter mentions things like support bots that are actually helpful and feel human.
Okay. I could see that being useful.
Or maybe even empathetic agents for mental wellness support.
That's interesting. A bit sensitive, maybe?
Very sensitive, yeah. Needs careful ethical consideration, but also like natural language tutors for education. Imagine learning a language from an AI that feels like a native speaker.
Yeah, that could be powerful. And Prateek includes a takeaway, right? An actionable bit.
Yes, the need to actually audit your AI's user experience specifically for this transparency.
Right, don't just build it, check how it feels and if it's clear.
Exactly. It's not just tech, it's how people interact with the tech. Super important.
Okay, so from AI fooling us, let's switch to the plumbing behind it all. The newsletter talks about Microsoft Azure MCP server, calls it Infra for the multi-agent AI era.
Yeah, that phrase multi-agent AI era really captures it. We're moving beyond single AIs doing single tasks.
So MCP, what is it exactly?
It's basically a platform built for the cloud, specifically Azure, obviously designed to manage systems where you have multiple AI agents working together.
Like a team of AIs.
Kind of, yeah. Think of it as the coordinator, the operating system for AI teams.
Okay, how does it coordinate them? What does it actually do?
So it has a few key parts. There's MCP routing.
Routing, like traffic control?
Sort of. It figures out which agent or which tool is best for the current step in the task, based on, what needs doing.
Smart routing, okay.
Then there's a memory layer. This is crucial. It lets the agents remember the conversation history, the state of the project.
So they don't forget what they were doing halfway through.
Exactly. Keeps the context. And then there's standardized tool use.
Tools, like software tool.
Yeah, it lets developers easily wrap up Azure services or other APIs, basically anything, as a tool that the AI agents can decide to use.
Ah, okay. So an agent could decide to, say, look something up in a database or call an external weather API.
Precisely. Using these standardized tools. And importantly, the newsletter notes it's compatible with open source stuff.
Like LangGraph and AutoGen, I've heard of those.
Yeah, and semantic kernel too. So you're not locked into just Microsoft's way of building agents. You can use these popular frameworks with MCP.
That makes sense. More flexibility. What kind of things could you build with this? The newsletter mentions use cases.
Yeah, some really interesting ones like internal co-pilots for companies. Imagine an AI assistant that can pull information from your documents, your monitoring systems, your databases all together.
Okay, that sounds powerful for businesses.
Or automating cloud operations, like having agents manage deployments, monitor performance, fix issues.
Oh, taking DevOps automation to another level.
Potentially, yes. And even agent-driven research. Setting up workflows where agents find information, read it, summarize it.
Like that AI research assistant idea we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. MCP could be the backbone orchestrating that.
And Prateek gives some hands-on tips too, right? Things people could try.
Yeah, suggest prototyping workflows with LangGraph or AutoGen on top of MCP.
Okay.
Wrapping your own APIs, maybe if you use FastAPI, using the MCP tool schema so agents can call them.
Right.
And even combining GitHub Copilot's newer agent mode with Azure MCP.
Integrating different agent approaches. And you can run it locally.
Yeah, there's a command mentioned, npxy at Azure MCP at latest server start. Lets you play around with it on your own machine.
Cool. Makes it easier to experiment.
Definitely. Seems like it handles a lot of the tricky coordination stuff for you.
Okay, moving on. The newsletter then talks about AI agents and autonomous software more broadly. And it makes a key point right away. Autonomy isn't just on or off.
Yeah, that's crucial. It's a spectrum, right? Not a switch.
A spectrum. So like some AI might be a little bit autonomous, others more so.
Exactly. How much freedom, how much decision-making power you give an AI system. It varies hugely. Depends on the task, the risks.
Makes sense. You wouldn't want a fully autonomous AI doing, I don't know, air traffic control just yet.
Probably not. You'd want layers of human oversight. But for, say, sorting emails, maybe more autonomy is fine.
Right. But the newsletter also talks about trade-offs as you increase that autonomy.
Yeah, it's not all upside. More autonomy can mean, well, fragility.
Fragility, like it breaks easily.
Sometimes, yeah. Especially in situations it wasn't explicitly trained for edge cases. It might do something unexpected or wrong. You can also lose explainability. The more complex and autonomous it gets, the harder it can be to understand why it made a certain decision.
The black box problem.
Kinda, yeah. And there can be hidden risks you didn't anticipate.
Okay, so more power, but also more potential pitfalls. Now, this leads into a pretty big idea in the newsletter about the future of software engineering itself.
Yeah, this is where it gets really thought-provoking. Prateek suggests a future with maybe fewer software engineers overall.
Fewer? Wow.
But the ones remaining are more elite. Their job shifts.
Shifts how?
Less about writing every single line of code, more about leading AI agents that do a lot of the coding.
So, directing the AI, architecting the system, guiding it.
Exactly. The skills needed change. Less memorizing algorithms, maybe. More about systems thinking, understanding the big picture, having good product sense, and critically, knowing how to effectively manage these AI collaborators.
Like being a conductor of an AI orchestra instead of playing every instrument yourself?
That's a good analogy, yeah. It's a higher level of abstraction.
But this raises a worrying point the newsletter also brings up. What about entry-level jobs?
That's the tough question, isn't it? If AI can handle more of the basic foundational coding tasks,
Does that squeeze out the junior roles? People just starting.
it's a real concern mentioned in the source. The traditional paths might change significantly.
And it's not just entry-level, right? The newsletter talks about senior roles too.
Yeah, even traditional senior individual contributor roles might get compressed or shift focus. If the main value becomes orchestrating AI, maybe deep specialization in just one coding area becomes less central.
And even management layers.
Potentially streamlined, yeah. If AI handles more coordination and operational tasks, maybe you need fewer layers of human managers just overseeing the process.
So the whole structure could change. The takeaway for engineers today, especially younger ones, seems to be, focus on the bigger picture. Systems thinking. Leading AI.
That seems to be the strong suggestion, yeah. Adaptability and learning how to leverage these tools effectively will be absolutely key.
Right. The game is changing, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, the newsletter takes a turn towards something less technical, but maybe just as important. Focus.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a jump at first, but it connects perfectly, I think.
How so?
Well, what you just talked about, all this incredible AI power models that mimic humans, platforms, coordinating agent teams, AI changing jobs.
Right.
But using all that effectively, directing it, even just coping with the changes, that requires the human element. And a key part of that human element is where we put our attention.
Ah, okay. And the newsletter quotes Cal Newport, right? Attention is the new currency.
Of the digital age, yeah. Powerful quote. In a world drowning in information and AI-generated content, your ability to actually focus becomes incredibly valuable. Maybe more valuable than assets, Prateek suggests.
More valuable than assets. That's a strong claim.
It is, but think about it. What you pay attention to determines what you create, what problems you solve, what you learn. It dictates your output.
So where your attention goes, your energy flows,
Hmm.
and your results follow.
Pretty much. And the newsletter talks about distractions, notifications, infinite scrolling as like a hidden tax.
A hidden tax on your future. I feel that. Constantly busy, but are you actually moving forward?
Exactly. That feeling of being pulled in a million directions, every interruption chips away at your ability to do deep, meaningful work.
So the advice is protect your focus. Be intentional.
Protect it, focus it, and let it compound. Like investing money, but investing your attention on things that matter. That's how you get real leverage.
It contrasts the busy person with the focused person.
Right. It argues the future belongs to the focused individual, the one who can resist the constant pull of distraction and actually concentrate.
And it recommends Cal Newport's book, Deep Work.
Yeah, as further reading for anyone wanting to dive deeper into cultivating that focus, it's a really timely message, I think. With all this tech, our ability to manage our own minds becomes paramount.
It really ties it all together. Okay, so let's try to wrap this deep dive up. We've covered a lot from this newsletter.
We have quite a journey.
We saw AI getting scarily good at human-like interaction, which forces us to think really hard about trust and transparent design.
Absolutely. UX and ethics are front and center.
Then the infrastructure, like Azure MCP server, being built to handle these complex multi-agent AI systems.
Yeah, the plumbing for the next wave of AI applications.
We talked about how AI agents are changing software engineering, the roles, the skills needed, the whole structure.
A major shift underway there, for sure.
And finally, the crucial, maybe underrated value of plain old focus in this hyper-connected AI-driven world.
Attention as the real superpower.
So when you put it all together, it's clear these AI advances aren't just tech tweaks. They're changing how we work, interact, maybe even how we think.
Fundamentally, yeah. It forces us to reconsider our relationship with technology.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening, building on all this. With AI moving this fast, how do you see it changing your specific work, your day-to-day in the next few years?
That's the big question to ponder.
And maybe more importantly, what's one concrete thing you could do, starting maybe tomorrow, to carve out a bit more focused time to protect that attention the newsletter says is so valuable? How can you thrive, not just survive in all this?
Definitely something worth reflecting on. It's a fascinating and slightly daunting time we're entering.
Absolutely. Lots to think about.